How can African filmmakers push some boundaries on storytelling?
There's power in Africa, there's power, and understand that we are enough as one together.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Ruth Kadiri. Ba, 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 ba. Welcome.
Hello, hi.
How are you doing? How are you enjoying Cape Town? Welcome to South Africa.
Thank you. It's such a warm place. It's very beautiful. The people are very receptive. The food is good.
Our people are beautiful.
Yeah.
Will Ruth Kadiri find herself a South African husband? Stay tuned for next episode of the Fame Game. Right, so Ruth, the theme this year at Fame Week is telling it bold, telling it African, or tell it bold, tell it African. How are you interpreting that theme? What does boldness and African mean to you?
Boldness for me is being able to express myself in the most original way that I feel. And African is African. We're in this continent. We have our own cultures, we have our values, and we have things that will be our belief system, and this are what they mean to me. Telling it originally how you feel and in your most conscious way.
So Ruth, you've obviously built this incredible name of like your digital distribution has set the standard for how the rest of the globe should be looking at film content creation. And you worked in the traditional, you produced content for some of the biggest streaming platforms in the world and have now chosen to move to the digital space. Will you talk us through that decision and why?
Okay, so I didn't move like, I'm leaving this for that. I decided to have it both ways and have an what's the word? Have
best of both worlds, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, the best of both worlds. I've experienced both. Sometimes the traditional way of filmmaking, there are lots of rules and regulations, and I feel like it's not that you don't have that in the digital space, but it's just stylishly limited. But both of them have their strengths and both of them have their values, and I love both of them. And I'm still working with all avenues and all opportunities and whatnot.
So ultimately, you're a storyteller anyway. You're a filmmaker. Where that film lives and how it's distributed is almost not irrelevant, but it's not the reason that you're famous. It's the good stories that you tell. So what makes good storytelling? How can African filmmakers push some boundaries on storytelling, especially if they want to be noticed on a global scale?
For me, what is most important is originality and how I view my story. Both of us can have the same story and we're asked to replicate it or write it down. We will express it differently. So for me, originality, telling your story in a way that you can relate with, and also finding like minds that relate with your story the way you see it is the most important for me.
So you believe that if you tell authentic stories that are true to you, they will resonate with people no matter where they live in the world?
Absolutely.
Are there any stories of yours that you've tried to export internationally that just haven't landed with a global audience?
Well, cultural differences, I would say. Yeah, there are things that the global world sees differently and reacts differently than to Nigeria or Africa. For instance, marriage and how people view relationship unions is different all over the world. So when you tell certain stories from a perspective in Nigeria or in Africa, someone out there in the Western world is like, hello, why? They don't understand that.
And then what opportunities are you most excited to explore here at Fame Week and the conversations you've been part of? You've been in panels, you've shared your own story on the stage. What are some of the conversations you're hoping we have here as African filmmakers right now?
I want us to explore collaboration more. I want us to see ourselves as it is ours. We are one. Unity in the strength in unity, and there's so much we can achieve together. I want us to stop worrying about what is out there and understand that we are enough as one together. And the good thing about storytelling and music is it just transcends, so sometimes people don't really care where you're from. They care about how they feel, about what they're watching or what they're hearing. So there's power in Africa. There's power, because imagine just half of the entire Africa watching ARC. We would not need any other channel factor, so stop worrying about what's out there and understand that we are enough.
What are some of the barriers preventing filmmakers from collaborating and achieving what you're describing now?
Well, I would say lack of understanding sometimes. I would say vision. I would say maybe language and business, understanding the business, and then trust as well. Some of these factors are things that becomes or stays in the forefront for others, while these factors for other people are like the barest minimum and they don't worry about it. So let it go. Don't worry about what's going to happen, what's not, and be you and do you and you try it.
You might not know this, but Ruth, when we were chatting just before the microphones turned on, she said, podcasts are interesting because people always try and be controversial. And so I'm not intentionally going to be controversial. You can say whatever you feel. But what I have definitely noticed is that there's a very different film culture in Nigeria than there is in countries like South Africa, much like Ghana and Kenya are slightly different territories. From what you've experienced through the conversations here in South Africa, what are the major differences you're spotting between where you come from and where we are today?
Truthfully, I really don't see much difference. I mean, lighting is lighting in terms of, except there are other factors you're talking about. Lighting is lighting, okay. Acting is acting, people are people, scripts are scripts. I really don't think there's much difference. I think people assume that there's so much difference. On the flip side, maybe structure for some countries and some other countries probably lack structure. But for me as a creative, I'm not looking at these other factors. I'm just looking at where I go, where I feel safe, where I feel connected with, and where I feel most myself.
It's silly for a host to have an opinion because I'm really here to facilitate your view. But I really also wonder, like it feels like listening to your story and meeting young filmmakers from other parts of Africa that are not from South Africa seem to be more brave and bolder to just put it out there, to create, to make. South Africans feel like we're waiting for the right time to distribute or to make or to pursue something new in the filmmaking world. What's your view?
Well, I think that's also the benefits of platforms like Film Week, opportunities where you meet other creatives and understand that some of the fears hold no water. You know what I mean? I met a South African director that showed me a couple of films that she had directed here, and beautiful, amazing films. And she's like, okay, so I'm trying to get on the space, but I'm not sure, so I've told her this is what I did. And so platforms and opportunities like Film Week helps you interact with other filmmakers and you start to realize that it's probably not as hard as you think.
Our theme is obviously telling it bold, telling it African, or tell it bold, tell it African. And I really wanted to understand from you, what is one bold choice you've made in your career that you can identify now that has been a lesson for you on your creative journey?
Just being able to go out there and do things without fear, I would say, has reflected in some of the decisions I have made as a person. It's not just YouTube. It's also a factor. It's also going to reflect in some of the decisions I'll make in the future. I'm not really somebody who's afraid. I go head first and cry later.
Go ahead first and cry later. That's a whole moment. And last that I'll ask you from today is if you were to predict what the next 3 years looks like, let's say, in the film and media landscape in Africa, what are you seeing as that future?
I would say that would be the massive inclusion of AI technology. And we don't know where that will go, how positive or negatively it would affect the industry. But I just think that every creative should brace up for impact.
Okay. And if you would give advice for those that are about to brace for that impact and how to follow in your footsteps, what would be your advice to young African filmmakers looking to, start making their mark in the industry?
Dare to be different. A lot of people are already doing the same thing. Read more, study more, come for conferences and markets and do things. Just do things to better your creativity.
I love this. Ruth, thank you so much for your time today with us and for sharing some of your wisdom. Thanks for bringing Nollywood to South Africa and helping us learn from some of the best in the world. We really, really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Danilo, for having me.
Thanks for watching and listening. And if you'd like to offer any of your thoughts on the conversation we just had, pop it down in the comments below and follow our social platforms for more of these and more conversations from Fame Week.